So, we kick things off with this young dude, Setsu, just chilling in class, staring out the window. His classmate, Yuhi, who's totally adorably calling him Yuki-kun, chatting away. Setsu's lost in thought, wondering what's going on in the other world. When bam, out of nowhere, a white magic rune lights up the floor and darkness blankets the room. The other students are freaking out, but Setsu's just smiling like he knows what's up. Then explosion of white light and they all find themselves dropped in a desert in another world. Everyone's like, what just happened? When suddenly, massive red-eyed soldiers come charging at them. One of the students yells, "We're in deep trouble." And everybody but Setsu bolts in panic. The soldiers are lunging at them, ready to attack. But before they know it, Yuhi jumps in front of Setsu to protect him. Talk about brave. But don't worry, our boy Setsu's got this. He uses some magic, touches the soldier, and boom, sends him flying with a grin plastered on his face. He grabs Yuhi's hand, and they hustle over to join the others, hiding under a tree. Out of nowhere, human soldiers roll in and start going toe-to-toe with those giant demon guys. Setsu's eyebrows shoot up. He thought this war was over, but then he senses something, a curse hanging over one of those demon soldiers. Suddenly, a girl named Elka rides in on a horse and tells the group to get off the battlefield. Another dude, Glain, joins her, and they dive right into the fight. Yuhi's eyes are wide as she watches them go off like heroes. She's impressed. Setsu is like, "We need to move, guys." They just landed in the kingdom of Destinia, and the king welcomes them, thanking them for showing up at such a critical time. He gives them the lowdown. Destinia is under attack by demons again, just like 5 years ago. But the students are all looking around, totally confused. They don't get any of this. The queen hops in, saying she knows it's a lot to take in. She tells them about a hero who came from another world 5 years back, Eclair, who stopped a war raging in their world. She bows and begs them to help out. The students are like, "Wait, how are we supposed to fight? We don't know anything about combat." But they're too scared to leave and end up agreeing to stay. The queen thanks them and tells them to rest up as they break off into small groups, whispering among themselves. Setsu reassures a worried Yui that he's got her back no matter what. Next day, Glain's all about teaching them sword fighting, while Elka takes on the magic lessons. The crew struggles with the magic stuff, but Yuhi's picking it up like a pro. Setsu's watching from the sidelines, noticing how good she is. As he wanders around the castle, he bumps into Elka, who's not holding back on scolding him for slacking during training. Setsu, ever the cocky one, riles her up, and she gets super mad. She tells him his attitude reminds her of someone from 5 years ago, and if he doesn't shape up, she'll use force to make him return to training. Setsu calls her bluff, so Elka's like, "Fine, we'll see about that," and charges at him with her sword. He dodges. Elka realizes who's doing it and her whole vibe flips. She freaks out, running up to him, bowing and gushing about how much she's missed him. Setsu's trying to keep his cool and asks her to get up, but she's totally head over heels, even offering herself as a chair while calling him master. Just then, Glain walks in, staring in disbelief at this scene. Elka's thrilled, telling him Setsu's back, but Glain's a bit skeptical at first because Setsu looks different now. However, he comes around once he notices Elka's only ever this goofy with one person, Setsu. They're off to share the big news with Thea, the magic researcher, but she's already clued in since she felt his magic. She tells Setsu that even though he looks different, his magic still feels like the same old Setsu. He proudly announces he's back, and they cheer for him like a family, welcoming someone home. But then Setsu's mood shifts as he recalls the war. His friends sense something's off and suggest talking somewhere quieter. Up at the castle wall, Elka asks how he made such a comeback. Glain's like, "Dude, why do you look like a totally different person?" Thea chimes in, mentioning he vanished after the battle. Setsu explains he has no clue what went down. All he remembers is a massive explosion when he fought Tama, the dude who started this whole mess. He tells them he was reborn in another world, but his memories and powers came along for the ride until he was pulled back to Eclair. They speculate it can't just be an accident that he's back. Something's brewing, and Setsu worries if Tama's behind this new war. He mentions sensing Tama's curse on one of the demons that attacked. Elka and Glain share they tried finding Tama after the war, but he disappeared like Setsu did. Thea points out that if Setsu's back, maybe Tama is too. Just then, a guard interrupts and tells Glain the king wants to see him, so he bounces. Elka playfully teases Setsu, saying Glain's gig should have been his if he hadn't ghosted for 5 years. Setsu retorts he would have never taken that job anyway. He was planning to travel the world after the last war. They kick back and soak up the view outside the castle while Setsu's mind keeps drifting back to Tama. Meanwhile, in the throne room, the king's in a heated discussion about war with his advisors. He's mad. They listen to the hero who pushed for a peace treaty with the demons. Glein jumps in, urging patience until they hear back from the emissary sent to the demonic continent, so they don't rush into a bad decision. The queen points out the demons attacked them first without warning, and she believes the arrival of the new heroes means it's time to fight again. The cabinet members all clap, agreeing with her. Back at the training grounds, Yuhi's nailing her magic practice, but she's also feeling uneasy, thinking all this training is just about hurting people. She doesn't get why they need to go to war, but then she perks up, promising to use her magic to protect Setsu while he tells her not to stress about the war. That evening, Glein, Elka, and Thea gather with Setsu. Glein reveals he bought them some time with the king, saying the new heroes need more practice, but his luck won't hold out long, the war's coming. Setsu declares he's going to handle this war situation solo again. They offer to back him up, but he surprises them by refusing, saying they can't all just bail on Destinia with the fight looming. He insists if Toma's pulling the strings here, they'll need to stay and help if things get messy. Elka protests, but he quickly shoots her down as she huffs in disappointment. Setsu's gotta grab something he left behind, so the next morning, he sneaks into the palace with the trio to snag his sword from 5 years ago. Thea makes them invisible with her magic as they creep around. Setsu's like, "What's with all these guards?" And Glein's like, "Because of the incoming war, duh." Elka then decides she's going in, asking Glein to cover her as she bolts off. Meanwhile, Setsu and Thea are left reminiscing until they hear Elka screaming, and they race towards her voice. Turns out she's already taken out a guard. Glein's like, "Dude, we were supposed to do this quietly." They stash the out-cold guard in a cupboard, hoping no one stumbles upon him. Elka picks the lock where the sword's being kept, and they slip inside. Setsu gets his hands on this massive sword and names it Kuromaru. Just then, 2 guards hear the ruckus, spotting the hidden guard, and start calling for backup while ordering the castle gate locked. Thea hears the commotion and says they must have spotted someone sneaking around. Glein tells them to split while he buys them some time. Thea wants to stay and help, but insists Elka leaves with Setsu, or she'll just be a distraction. Setsu drags Elka out, agreeing with Thea that she's a trouble magnet. Outside the gates, Setsu gets ready to bounce, and Elka says they'll do their best to hold things down until he gets back. Suddenly, Yuhi runs in and jumps on him, asking where he thinks he's going. Setsu spills that this is his second time in this world, and he's gotta stop the war, so he's off to meet an old friend for help. Yuhi bursts into tears, begging to come along, promising she'll be useful, but Setsu shoots her down, saying it's too dangerous and he needs to go solo. She argues, and Setsu plants his foot down, telling her he's doing this to keep her safe. That calms her down, and she hugs him tight. Then, she asks him to close his eyes for a sec, and he does. She uses her magic to give him a quick haircut. Setsu is totally blown away and praises her for it. Yuhi vows she'll keep practicing and get stronger to protect him. He flicks her forehead playfully, making her jump. With a grin, he tells her if she can dodge next time they meet, she passes the test. He waves goodbye and they watch him stride away. Next up, we're in a jewelry store where an old man's yelling at a younger guy. Meanwhile, a little girl named Ruri peeks from behind the curtain. The old guy refuses to sell a certain piece of jewelry, saying it's too precious for someone who doesn't appreciate its value. The young dude calls him an annoying old man and says he's willing to pay any price for the brooch. The old guy proudly insists he won't sell it for any amount. The little Ruri looks worried and asks her grandpa if the guy's trouble, and he says, yeah. The guy slams down a small bag on the table, asking if that's enough for the brooch. The old man continues ranting, but when he sees a bunch of gold coins, he sells the jewelry right away. After the guy leaves, Ruri asks her grandpa why he sold the piece if he's all about pride. He pats her head and tells her pride matters, but sometimes you gotta make exceptions, holding up the gold with a big smile. Fast forward a few years at her grandpa's burial, Ruri's in tears holding his picture. After the funeral, she packs her stuff and sets out to deliver a package her grandpa left her. It was his last job. That night, Ruri's driving through the spooky forest in her carriage when her horse suddenly stops. She tries to get it moving, but it won't budge. Out of nowhere, a creepy monster with red eyes charges at her. Ruri screams as the monster smashes into her carriage. Her bag spills open, and out falls the priceless jewelry. her grandpa sold all those years ago. She picks it up, relieved, and shoves it back in her backpack, momentarily forgetting about the monster. But when she turns around, she's face to face with it. Panicking, she blabbers that she has a lot of money, so it doesn't need to eat her. The monster just ignores her and charges, but before it can pounce, Setsu swoops in and kills it. He checks on Ruri, but she starts rambling again about paying him for saving her. He brushes it off, saying he just wants to make sure she's safe. Ruri insists on paying him, claiming her grandpa taught her there's no such thing as a free lunch. Setsu takes her hand, chuckling that her grandpa was a bit off for saying that. As she holds his hand, she thinks he looks a lot like that young man from years ago, but she can't quite place him. Setsu asks why she's traveling alone. Ruri explains she had to rush out and didn't have time to hire help. As he turns to leave, she begs him to be her guard, but he turns her down. Ruri pleads, saying she needs to deliver something important, asking him to at least go with her halfway. He finally agrees to walk with her to Port Town since he's headed there too. They leave the carriage behind and just take the horse. Ruri glances back with disappointment about ditching her stuff, but Setsu tells her to let it go, still feeling down. She clutches her backpack tightly when Setsu notices it and asks about it. Ruri refuses to show him, and they get into a little argument as they move on. The next morning, they hit Port Town, and Setsu's shocked it's way bigger than he remembers. Ruri explains, the town exploded in size after the war wrapped up 5 years ago. She asks if he's been there before, and he admits he checked it out when it was still small. Ruri reveals she hired a ship to get her across the sea, but she's headed to the demonic continent. All the ships at the port won't take her because of the war. She even kneels to beg, but they all turn her down. Setsu can't believe a little girl is trying to go to the demonic continent alone. Just then, a group of knights from Destinia roll up and demand to see her merchant pass. When she shows it, they start making fun of her. The knights ask to see her backpack, but she won't show it, so they try to snatch it. Setsu jumps in, asking them for their permit to search her stuff. The knights get mad and reach for their swords, but Setsu stands his ground, ready to draw his own weapon. The townsfolk start to gather, whispering and getting anxious, so the knights back down, sheathing their swords and storming off. Still angry, Setsu grumbles that it must be rough for Elka and Glaine dealing with jerks like that. Later, they sit down for a meal, and Ruri praises Setsu for handling the knights, offering him more food. He tells her he was impressed with how she stood her ground. She blushes and thanks him shyly. Then she asks how he knew they needed a permit, and Setsu mentions an old friend who's a stickler for rules. Thinking of Glaine, Ruri looks worried about what to do now that she can't find a ship. So she says she'll scour the whole port town for one, and if not, she'll buy one. Setsu gently tells her that buying a ship isn't happening. It's way too expensive, but Ruri's undeterred and insists it doesn't matter. Finally, Setsu tells her he'll help her get to the demonic continent. Ruri leaps for joy, wanting to pay him, but he laughs it off, saying it's all good since he's heading there anyway. He tells her to eat up and catch some Z's at the inn because she looks dead tired. Gratefully, she offers to split the inn cost. Later that night, Setsu reminds Ruri to wash up, and she asks him if he can help her hold onto her package, and agrees to finally show it to him. Ruri busts open the box, and surprised she totally recognizes that brooch. Turns out she bought it ages ago, as she spills some of her family's history. We go back in time. Ruri's grandpa, he was a legendary jeweler, the absolute best in all of Destinia. One day, someone brought back a piece he created to get it fixed. But then he got sick. This was his final job. On his deathbed, he put Ruri in charge of the jewelry and made her promise to return it safe and sound. Fast forward to the present, and Ruri wraps up her tale with a smile, shoving the box at Setsu while heading off for a bath, teasing him not to ditch her. Setsu cracks open the box, touches the jewelry, and bam, it activates its magic. He realizes it's the same piece he blessed with a protection spell before gifting it. His mind drifts to the owner, praying nothing bad's happened to them. That night, while they're catching some ZS, those 3 knights from earlier storm into the inn, demanding to see Ruri and Setsu. They accuse the pair of being spies from the demonic continent. As they start smashing down the door, Setsu snatches Ruri and leaps out the window with her screaming in pure panic. The knights chase after them, cornering the duo, only for Setsu to make a daring jump over their heads. Ruri still in his arms. He sets a trap with some bottles. Classic move. Just when Setsu and Ruri think they're safe, They find themselves at a dead end on top of a tower, and the knights are right on their tail. Setsu cracks jokes at them, but Ruri pleads with him to chill. Out of nowhere, he grabs her hands and jumps off the tower, classic cliffhanger. As Ruri screams, a massive sea dragon Levia pops up from the ocean and catches them while the knights watch, jaws dropped. Setsu greets Levia like an old friend and asks if she can give them a lift to the demonic continent. Meanwhile, Ruri's still freaking out. Levia soars away with them on her back, leaving the knights dazed and confused. They decide it must be a dream and agree to keep quiet about it. Later, as they're sailing, Ruri's in disbelief that they're hitching a ride on Leviathan, the Sea Lord, and wonders who she hired as security. As dawn breaks, they spot the demonic continent. The next morning, Levia is taking on a giant squid while Setsu cheers her on, and she absolutely wrecks it. After celebrating her victory, she transforms back into her human form and Setsu introduces her to Ruri. Levia playfully ribs Setsu for not helping with the squid fight, and he tries to calm her down. She's ticked that he vanished for 5 years without a word, just to pop back and ask for a ride. Ruri points out that they can't just leave the dead squid chilling on the beach, so Levia pushes Setsu to deal with it. He slices off a piece and starts frying it up for some crunchy squid ring. Ruri tastes it and is blown away by how good it is. While munching, Levia tells them that Evil Barrow, the demon lord's castle, is just over the mountain, real close to a demonic fishing village called Valsi. Ruri's eyes widen, turns out she's headed there. Setsu mentions he also has business with Ruri's package recipient. Levia raises an eyebrow, recalling that Dazes sent her brooch for repairs. Ruri gasps and asks if she knows Desastal Sereno. Levia nods, and casually reveals that the package's owner is the demon lord Desastal, who lives in Evil Barrow, causing Ruri to scream in pure terror. Levia's ready to bounce, but Setsu wants her to tag along. She's still fuming at him for disappearing for so long. In their quarrel, 3 demon kids interrupt and demand Setsu apologize. He shuts them up with a squid ring, but they just get hyped and ask for more. Levia laughs, assuring them there's plenty to go around, which makes Setsu grumble it means more work for him. He grabs the giant squid and heads to Valsi, with the kids trailing behind. When they arrive in Valsi, the villagers are freaking out about food shortages because the humans have stopped visiting since the war started, and they can't fish because of the giant squid problem. Setsu jumps in and asks if he can fry his squid in their town, and they all scream in shock. That night, the villagers throw a huge party, celebrating the monster's defeat and praising Levia for saving them, offering her their tastiest food and finest wine. Setsu slices the squid like a pro, leaving the villagers stunned. While he's frying it up, Ruri is hustling and selling the squid rings as Levia teases him from her throne. And later that night, a young demon named Vlad, who's the demon lord's personal guard, sees the village lights glowing and bolts toward it, thinking the humans have set it on fire. Meanwhile, Ruri is getting a bit tipsy while chatting with Levia about Setsu. Levia reminisces about the past, telling Ruri that 5 years ago, Setsu tried to cross her ocean without permission, leading to an epic fight where he ultimately defeated her and dragged her along in his quest to end the war. Ruri gasps in surprise as the realization hits her Setsu is the hero who stopped the war. Levia explains how he promised to keep the peace in the oceans, and Ruri connects the dots, realizing that's why ocean accidents have dropped. She admits she's mad at him for disappearing, but is stoked he's back, watching him with a smile. Ruri notices the way Levia looks at him, leading her to the conclusion that Levia has feelings for him. Levia brushes off the idea with laughter, calling it ridiculous, but admits she was waiting for him to return. Suddenly, Vlad barges in, sword drawn and ready for a fight. Everyone's shocked, and the kids offer him squid rings. Later that night, after Setsu finishes his sales, he slips out to the docks to join Levia, who's using magic to fish. Vlad apologizes for storming in earlier, but then Setsu shows up and calls his name. Vlad realizes who he is, and Setsu asks why the demon lord's top officer isn't at the castle. Vlad reveals he's been looking for Levia. He bows and urges both of them to help save the demon lord. He shares that the demon lord has been forced to marry a dude named Terran Sneeder. Vlad says she agreed to be cursed in exchange for Terran's help in ending the war, and that Terran brought a powerful cursed necklace to seal the deal. Vlad warns that humans invaded and left the Destinia flag behind. Dazes even sent an emissary to Destinia, but they never made it back. Terran sees the chance, promising to help Dazes negotiate peace if she would marry him and wear the cursed necklace. Setsu, furious, asks why Dazes would lower herself to become a slave just to stop the war. Levia says it's all tied to her promise to Setsu. They agree they need to help Dazes. Vlad mentions that the wedding is happening soon, so they've got no time to waste, warning them that Terran is surrounded by top-notch guards. He adds that the road to the castle is crawling with monsters, and Levia confidently says she'll handle that. Vlad thanks her, and as Levia and Setsu gear up to leave, they leave Ruri with Vlad. They start racing toward the mountains, reminiscing along the way when suddenly, they get ambushed by monsters. Levia transforms part of her hand into her monster form, unleashing her magic to obliterate them in a single move. Levia asks Setsu what he's planning to do when they hit the castle. Setsu, all fired up, says he's gonna blow up the wedding with Terran. Levia raises an eyebrow, wondering how he's gonna stop the war without that loaded merchant. Setsu tells her he's got a hunch that Terran might be the one behind all the chaos. He points out that both Destinia and the Demon Nation are pointing fingers at each other for who attacked first, suggesting someone's pulling the strings based on those cursed soldiers he saw when he first arrived. He mentions those soldiers don't belong to either nation. While the two nations are busy blaming one another, it's fishy that some merchant rolls in with a cursed necklace, claiming it's all about peace. Just then, bam, monsters attack, but Levia zaps them all out of existence with her magic. Setsu's impressed and asks if she's leveled up. Levia, feeling proud, says this is nothing compared to what she can unleash in the ocean. They keep racing each other, and Levia glances at Setsu, beaming as she reminisces about her past. Now, let's rewind 5 years. Dazes, the demon lord, starts narrating her history. She's been around forever, fighting countless wars as an heir, ruler, and protector. This gal was stuck in a never-ending battle until she met Setsu. After their epic showdown, he reached out, inviting her to join him and end the war once and for all. He gave her a brooch as a peace offering, and she accepted it with tears in her eyes. Fast forward to Evil Barrow after Setsu disappears. Vlad drops the bomb that Setsu is missing, and Dazes is crushed, but she swears to keep her promise for peace that she made to Setsu. Years later, as Dazes strolls around her territory, she's thrilled to see everyone living in harmony, waving to them. She chats about the war and how they've found peace when suddenly, the stone on her brooch shatters. Vlad steps up, suggesting he take it to a jeweler in Destinia for repairs, and she gratefully agrees. Then, one stormy night, a demon soldier barges in, shouting that the Destinian army is invading. Vlad's fuming, but Dazes tells him to chill. She orders her top officials to gather and sends 2 of her guards, Zeon and Lamina, as messengers to investigate. She swears again to uphold her promise to Setsu, no matter what. A month later, Dazes watches her troops preparing for battle from a window. The demon soldiers are nervous about making it to the front lines, with one grumbling they should never have trusted humans. But his buddy reassures him that their demon lord has got it covered. Meanwhile, she's anxious because she hasn't heard from her messengers and fears her nation won't last much longer. Vlad rushes in with news that Terran Sneeder from the Terran Trading Company wants to see her. Terran proposes to her, saying he'll use his influence to bring peace with Destinia if she marries him, but after skimming the contract, Dazes realizes he's basically asking her to be his slave, and throws the document away. Terran then opens a box, showing her the cursed necklace she'll wear after they tie the knot. Everyone's shocked. It's a cursed necklace that would enslave Dazes. She asks for time to think about it, and as Terran leaves, he smirks, saying she's running out of time. Left alone, Dazes can't help but think about Setsu, wondering if this is the price she has to pay for peace. Vlad storms back in, begging her not to take the deal, insisting the army can handle the war. Dazes tearfully tells him she can't turn it down to save her army. Vlad storms off, refusing to give up. Dazes cries to herself, contemplating the wedding and what Setsu would say about it. On his way back, Terran grins as he chats with a mysterious hooded demon in his carriage. He brags that convincing Dazes was easier than he thought, but he's really working for someone else. All he wants is the stunning demon lord. Terran thinks since they control the demon kingdom, there's no need to escalate things, but the demon insists they have to keep pushing forward. On wedding day, demons are on one side of the castle and humans on the other, and the vibe is pretty dreary. Terran, looking all smug in a white suit, stands at the altar while the doors swing open to reveal Dazes in a gorgeous white dress, walking down the aisle looking heartbroken. The priest kicks off the ceremony. When it's time for the vows, Terran pulls out the cursed necklace and gives this smug speech. He promises to bring peace, and calls on the demons to pledge loyalty to the new demon lord, while laughing like a villain. Dazes, tears streaming down her face, reluctantly offers her neck for the necklace. Memories of Setsu flood her mind, and she wishes she could see him just one last time. As Terran tries to place the necklace around her neck, the glass above them shatters, and chaos erupts as everyone scrambles, fearing an attack. Boom! Suddenly, Setsu leaps in, reaching for her hand. Off to the side, Vlad and Ruri spot the explosion and conclude it must be Setsu before rushing to join him. Back in the castle, Terran yells at his guards to protect him as they soar into the air to confront Setsu, but Levia takes them out in a snap. Dezes beams at her, and Levia jokes that she looks dreadful in white. Terran dives into hiding as Levia confronts him. Out of nowhere, the hooded demon appears and attacks Levia with shadow magic, causing her to freeze. He goes in for the kill, but Setsu swoops in, blocking the attack and freeing Levia. The demon mutters he didn't expect Setsu, but his master will be thrilled about this return. Trying to recover, the demon challenges Setsu but quickly realizes he's outmatched. He bolts after blowing the wall, escaping before Setsu can catch him. Dazes rushes to hug Setsu, tears of joy falling as she tells him she missed him. He embraces her back, thrilled that she's okay. Levia directs their attention to the hooded guards she just fought. As Setsu pulls off the hoods, they vanish into thin air. Dazes explains, they're magic soldiers created from curses, and Setsu picks up the cursed necklace, confirming it's definitely Tama's handiwork, and he crushes it. Dazes says she had a feeling about it too. She insists she's coming along with Setsu, declaring that Toma has to pay for making her wear this awful gown. Setsu tells her he's off to visit Regulus, the king of the beastmen, but she needs to stay back, in case Toma pulls any tricks. Dazes is bummed about their quick separation, but Setsu reassures her, saying they both need to fulfill their promise. Levia frowns, disappointed they can't take a break after all the chaos, saying she just wanted to catch her breath since they've been running and fighting all night. Just then, Ruri bursts into the castle. Vlad freaks at the disaster in the castle. Ruri asks if everything's good, and Setsu tells her it is. She pulls out a box and hands it to Setsu, insisting he needs to be the one to give it to Dazes. Setsu turns to Dazes as he opens the box, revealing the brooch, and she gasps in surprise. He places the brooch on her, reminding her this is the second time. Dazes touches it emotionally, replying, "Yeah, this is the second time." The light washes over Dazes, and she closes her eyes, tilting her head back to bask in it, thinking about Setsu and how he's taught her once again what it means to truly feel alive. Later that day, the demon soldiers swept through the castle and captured Terran. Dazes gave a heartfelt goodbye to Setsu and Levia, wishing she could join them, but Setsu promised to take her anywhere she wanted after they sorted all this out. Vlad reminded him that just because there's peace, it doesn't mean a ruler can ditch the country. Levia jokingly told him he could handle the situation and help Dazes out. Ruri also decided to stay back on the demon continent. As a thank you for bringing her brooch, Dazes suggested Ruri could open a shop in her kingdom. Vlad thanked Setsu for all his help. Levia and Setsu set off, and as they were leaving, Dazes urged Setsu to make sure he comes back once everything's wrapped up. Now, let's flash back to when a young Setsu first met Yuhi. Their mom introduced them, and little Yuhi, all chipper, wanted to play, but Setsu turned her down. Yuhi reminisced that Setsu seemed like a scary, unfriendly dude back then. They lived close and spent a lot of time together. As they grew up, Setsu helped her with schoolwork. Yuhi really wanted to go to the same high school as him, but she didn't think she was smart enough. One day, she spotted a poster for a fancy training academy and asked Setsu if she should attend to get into his school. He told her to aim for an easier school, which bummed her out, but she didn't listen and went to the academy anyway. She studied hard, but her mock exams didn't go well. That night, feeling down, some boys started teasing her, but Setsu swooped in to save the day. After they left, he advised her to know her limits, and Yuhi tearfully declared that she just wanted to go to school with him, no matter what anyone said. Setsu finally agreed to help her study, which made her super happy. Yuhi loved him so much, she wanted to be by his side forever. Fast forward to the present, and the foreign heroes have gotten way better at magic. Yuhi's magic has leveled up too. She totally wrecked her target with some epic power, impressing everyone. Elka called it a day with some praise. Yuhi chased after Glain and Elka, asking if they were friends with Setsu, and they said yes. Elka got all emotional, wishing she could be by Setsu's side always. Yuhi chimed in that she wanted to be with Setsu too and asked if they could give her some special training. Later that night, Elka took Yuhi to the top of the walls and shared a story about what Setsu did for them 5 years ago. She said he was out there somewhere, trying to maintain peace again. Yuhi declared she would do whatever it takes to be with Setsu, but first, she needed to get strong, so she challenged Elka to a fight. When they fought, Elka totally overpowered Yuhi. But after the match, Elka praised her, pointing out Yuhi was more special than the other foreign heroes. Elka asked if Yuhi was ready to stand by Setsu's side, but there was one thing she was missing. Elka led her to an underground sewer full of monsters. Suddenly, a giant crocodile monster appeared, and Elka told Yuhi to take it on. The monster charged at her and she blasted it with magic. Yuhi jumped for joy, thinking she'd won, but the monster came back, not even scratched. It grabbed her wand, and during the struggle, it clawed her. Panicking, she raised her hands and unleashed a massive explosion, finally taking the monster down. Feeling a bit guilty, she hesitated, but Elka urged her to finish it. Elka reminded her that in war, you either take down the enemy or they take down your friends. The memories of the first day they arrived flooded back, when soldiers were killing each other. As the monster began to regain consciousness, Elka finished it off and walked away, leaving Yuhi on her knees, realizing she didn't have what it takes to kill. The next morning, a knock at the door woke her up, and Thea entered to help heal her wound with magic. Yuhi thanked her, and Thea thought Elka was out of her mind for throwing Yuhi into that scenario. But Yuhi insisted she asked for it. Thea revealed she saw Yuhi as one of them, because none of them knew what Setsu was like in the other world. But he looked at her the same way he looked at them. She explained that Elka was tough on Yuhi because she wanted her to be treated as an equal. Thea then asked why Yuhi was so eager to be with Setsu. Yuhi explained that Setsu had always been there for her, remembering all he had done, and this time she wanted to be the one helping him. Thea wished her luck before stepping out, bumping into a worried Elka outside. Thea reassured her that Yuhi was strong, but Elka still fretted that Yuhi could get hurt in battle, since she struggled with the idea of killing. She believed Setsu wouldn't want them pushing Yuhi to take a life. Thea insisted it wasn't anyone's place to decide for her, and that they should respect whatever choice she makes. Glein found Yuhi alone in a corner, looking sad and probably still bothered by last night's events. He told her it was normal to hesitate about taking a life, even for someone precious. She asked him how he found the determination to fight, and Glein revealed he was just like any other soldier, choosing to make people suffer rather than watch his loved ones suffer. He encouraged her to find her own determination and left, reminding her that Setsu probably wanted her to discover what was right for her. Yuhi realized she wanted to fight but also stay true to herself. The next morning, during practice, Yuhi showed off her skills with some insane magic, blasting her target like a pro. Thea, Elka, and Glein watched in shock at her newfound power. Later, Yuhi took Elka back to the monster-filled sewer for more practice. Elka asked if Yuhi had found her determination, and she said she had made her choice. When the monster appeared, she stood ready to battle. Elka warned her that pushing herself in combat could break her, but Yuhi was determined and charged forward. When the monster lunged, she roasted it with a giant fireball, sending it crashing to the ground. Elka praised her for thinking it was dead, but Yuhi revealed she only temporarily incapacitated it. To Elka's shock, Yuhi announced she had decided never to take a life. She vowed she would never lose, but also would never kill. Elka applauded her resolve but reminded her that it would require immense power to pull off. Yuhi beamed, saying she'd practice hard to grow stronger. The next day, Glein gathered the foreign heroes, announcing that the king had issued a decree to defend their nation. They'd join the Knights of Destinia and head out to the demonic nation, Evil Theon, at dawn tomorrow. He urged them to prepare both physically and mentally. After dismissing them, the students huddled together, discussing their concerns about going to war. Yuhi gazed out the window, silently asking Setsu to wait for her before confidently joining Thea, Elka, and Glein. The next morning, a wagon's rollin' with Setsu and Levia headed to the Beastman continent. Levia's chillin' on the floor, munchin' on snacks like it's no big deal. Setsu's like, this trip is a drag, but then he reminds her how awesome she was yesterday, promising to follow him anywhere, no matter how far. Levi is curious about what he wants her to do, and he suggests she could whip up some magic to teleport them there. But Levi is like, nah, transfer magic is a killer on my energy. Plus, she's loving this trip since she was the one carrying them over the sea, and she needs a break. She kicks back, crosses her legs, and even swipes some of his snacks. Out of nowhere, their wagon stops, and a young demon girl pops up, asking if she can hitch a ride. Setsu does a double take when he sees her climb in with her little sis, who's calling her big sister. He calls her crybaby Alize, and she immediately bursts into tears when she realizes who he is. Setsu introduces her as Alize Ifreal, and he brings up how they teamed up last time he was in town. Alize spills that Setsu taught her combat every night, which makes Levia raise an eyebrow, and before he can explain, Alize's little sister jumps in. Levia asks who she is, and Alize introduces her as Amel. Setsu's kinda shocked. He had no clue. Alize had a sister. Amel says they're sisters just cause they ended up in the same house. Alize gets serious and starts grilling Setsu about where he's been for 5 years. He hesitates under their gazes and spills the whole story. Alize says if anyone else told that wild tale, she'd never buy it, and Levia totally agrees. Setsu invites Alize to join them on their Beastmen continent adventure, just like 5 years ago, but she declines. She's got some stuff to handle first. Alize shares that ever since Setsu disappeared, she's been busy fighting monsters. She accepted a gig from a village in Zothro to take down a dragon and ended up with a place to crash, where she met Amel. They clicked over dinner one night, and Amel was super nice to her. Amel admits she's used to being alone, ever since her brother vanished the day the dragon first showed up. Alize gets all emotional, saying she's tired of traveling and when this dragon problem's sorted out, she wants to settle in Zothro. She asks Amel if she can stay with her, and Amel's all in favor of that. Alize tells Amel to call her sister, and Amel jumps into her arms, totally thrilled. Back to the present, Setsu asks if Amel's brother got taken out by the dragon. Alize shakes her head and explains that villagers go missing every time that dragon shows its ugly face. Usually, after a dragon attack, there's some kind of fight remnants, but this one, it just disappears. Setsu and Levia think it might have something to do with magic. Alice figures that taking down the dragon should be the priority, so she came up with a bold plan. She disabled the protective tower to lure the dragon back for an ambush attack. One day, she sends Amel home, but they have a cute butterfly moment before the little sis giggles off. That night, the dragon shows up, and Alice gives it her all, injuring it a little, but it zooms off into the woods. She chases it down, but it vanishes. She rushes back to the village, only to find it completely empty. Luckily, she finds Amel crying in a corner, and the next morning, Alice decides to take Amel to someone in the city, while she goes looking for the missing villagers, but she's got no clue where to start. She turns to Setsu for ideas. Setsu and Levia admit they've never heard anything like this, but they're down to help. The sisters are pumped. Levia starts throwing out the goofiest theories. Like a zombie dragon, she rambles about zombie attacks and air zombies until Setsu has to shut her down. Next, she suggests a siren attack, but Setsu tells her this all happened on land, not at sea. She counters that maybe a siren lived in the village, but Amel insists sea creatures have a unique smell, and she's got a nose for it. She's never picked up on any sea creatures in Zothro, though. Amel quickly apologizes for saying that sea creatures smell, telling Levia that she doesn't smell at all. Setsu randomly suggests it could be space aliens. As he goes on about that, Levia smacks him on the head. Then he throws out this wild idea. What if the dragon could turn human to escape when being chased? He asks Levia if she's capable of making people vanish, but she's like no way, and warns Setsu to quit making her look bad. Alize's stunned and asks if Levia's a dragon, and she's quick to deny it while Setsu teases her by comparing her to a dragon. Levia confidently states she's a sea lord, way cooler than just a dragon. She asks why the dragon didn't make Alize disappear, which is when their wagon suddenly lurches to a stop. The driver says they've gotta hang tight till the river calms down. It's pouring, and the water's rising. Setsu wonders why the dragon kept attacking the village, and Levia suggests it might be hungry or drawn by magic. She explains that magic can attract monsters, meaning someone in the village could be using some wicked powerful magic to lure the dragon. Setsu starts piecing it together. He muses about how people don't just vanish into thin air. What if the disappearances happened first, before the dragon attacks? This would mean the dragon only shows up after the magic is used. Alize jumps in, saying magic needs a user, but all the villagers are gone. Setsu remembers that those people started vanishing 2 years ago, and mentions someone new rolled into town around that time. They all turn to Amel, who nervously denies it. Alice backs Setsu up, claiming Amel's just a victim in all this. Setsu reminds her of Levia's sniffing skills, and Alize points out that most demons have a sharp sense of smell. But here's the kicker, Levia never lets her magic leak out, not even in human form. Levia nods in agreement. Setsu goes on to add that not even Alize could tell Levia was a sea creature. Amel's caught red-handed. She lets out a sigh, grinning, and her eyes suddenly transform into monstrous ones. She blasts the carriage as she morphs into a dragon, making Setsu, Alize, and Levia jump out just in time. The dragon starts hurling fire at them as they make a run for it. Alize feels a wave of guilt hide as she thinks about how she called herself Setsu's pupil while she's in full-on hiding mode. Setsu calls her name, urging her to stop hiding, as he gears up to battle the dragon charging at them. Setsu launches into the sky, shouting out to Levia, who uses her magic to fortify his sword with water. The dragon breathes fire at him, but Setsu reflects that fire right back down the dragon's throat. He calls out to Alice, who leaps into action, stabbing the dragon in the head with her sword. It vanishes, leaving behind sparkly bits fluttering down like snow. Later that night, Levia is ferrying Setsu back across the sea, and she asks if everything's cool with leaving Alice solo. Setsu replies that if Alice calls herself his pupil, she's gotta finish what she started. Alice gets back to Zathro and heads home, lost in memories of her time with Amel. Suddenly, she's startled by a voice. It's Amel, along with a bunch of monsters and giant soldiers. Alice can't believe Amel's alive and gets ready for a fight. She demands to know what's happened to the villagers, and Amel's smile turns sinister as she reveals they've transformed into dolls. Turns out, she's been using the missing villagers to create cursed soldiers for the war. She introduces herself as Melular, the monster master. The next morning in Leoport on the Beastmen continent, we see a young girl named Shironeko strolling through the market. Traders can't get enough of her and keep showering her with gifts. She's got her hands full, but it gets a bit too much, and she politely turns some down. As she walks, kids come running up, begging her to teach them how to fight. But she's like, nah, you guys should be playing, not fighting. She heads home to her sister, Minako, who's sick and stuck in bed. Just as Shironeko is about to head back out to give away the extra food she has, Minako starts coughing badly. Shironeko rushes to grab her medicine and helps her take it. Minako swallows it down, which eases her cough for a bit. She feels bad for being sick, and Shironeko hugs her tightly, both of them crying and promising to make it better. It's clear from the mountain of medicine bottles in the corner that Minako's been feeling under the weather for quite a while. Fast forward 3 days, and Setsu and Levia are trying to hire a boat. But this beastman at the port is super grumpy and says there are no boats left. Setsu offers to pay him more, but he still says no. The beastman tells Levia she'll have to swim them across. Levia's furious, saying she just swam for 3 days straight and needs a break. Setsu apologizes and reassures her that she's his only hope, sweetly patting her on the head. This calms her down a bit. She says she'll rest but is ready to swim again tomorrow. Suddenly, the beastman says a boat will be available tomorrow, and Setsu is pumped. But Levia's like, read the room, dude. Setsu suggests they grab a bite and find somewhere to crash for the night. That same day, Shironeko shows up at an inn and hands a little something to Kuroinu, the innkeeper, who gives her a bottle of medicine for her sister in return. Shironeko thanks her for finding the medicine, and Kuroinu praises her for taking care of Mineko. Then Kuroinu hands over a wanted poster featuring Setsu and Levia, and Shironeko realizes her next gig is to take them out. Kuroinu promises that if she nails the job, she'll never have to worry about money again and can buy all the medicine Mineko needs. Just then, Setsu and Levia stroll into the inn, chatting away. Shironeko quickly pulls a hood over her head and sneaks out while Kuroinu acts all casual, ignoring them. That night, Shironeko tries to get Mineko to eat, but she just can't. Mineko explains, her stomach can't handle it. Shironeko sees the almost empty medicine bottle and sighs sadly. When Mineko asks what's wrong, Shironeko puts on a cheerful face, saying she just has one more job to take care of today. But then, we see Mineko wearing a cursed necklace, adding a twist to the story. As night falls, while Setsu and Levia are sleeping peacefully, Shironeko waits outside the inn. Kuroinu pops out and tells her the duo is zonked out. She asks if Shironeko is still feeling unsure about the assassination. Shironeko insists she's ready to go for it. She pleads with Kuroinu to be their big sister and to let them live together after she finishes the job. Kuroinu agrees and tells her to get it done so Mineko won't be sad. Shironeko is over the moon. Kuroinu gives her the keys, and she heads inside as Kuroinu ponders their conversation. Shironeko opens the door and sees Setsu and Levia sleeping. She lunges at them with her claws, but they vanish because Levia used some illusion magic. Suddenly, Setsu pops up behind her and kicks her. She jumps out the window, with him hot on her heels. Setsu asks if she's one of Tama's lackeys, but she replies that she doesn't know who that is and that she has to take him out. She partially transforms into a beast and charges at Setsu, blasting him, but he's not fazed at all. Setsu grabs her head and slaps her hard enough to send her crashing to the ground. She's dazed, turning a little purple, and Setsu figures she must have brought the curse from somewhere else. Meanwhile, Kuroinu is watching the whole thing unfold and bolts when her plan goes south. Shironeko recovers quickly and tries to attack Setsu again, but Mineko stops her, explaining they found her knocked out on the road and brought her home. Setsu gives Shironeko a wink, assuring her that her secret is safe. She plays along, thanking him for helping her out. Setsu then reveals that Mineko isn't sick after all. He uses magic to show them the power of the cursed necklace. Tears brimming, Shironeko begs him to save Mineko, and he promises he will. Setsu warns Mineko that it might be a painful process. As she lies down, he summons this gnarly shark-like sword called Glutton. He uses it to absorb the curse from Mineko. She starts shaking in pain, while Shironeko cheerfully cheers her on to hold on. Just as they're close to breaking the curse, Kuroinu throws a spear towards Setsu, but Shironeko jumps in the way, and it gets her in the shoulder. She scolds Kuroinu for not finishing the job. Setsu is ready to deal with Kuroinu but knows he can't stop the absorption midway. Kuroinu threatens him, saying she'll drag him to her master today. She tries to attack, but Levia blasts her away. Setsu asks Levia if she can handle Kuroinu alone, and she confidently says yes. They clash, but Kuroinu realizes Levia is a sea lord and wonders why she's helping a human. Kuroinu thinks Levia won't have her sea power on land, but boy, is she in for a shock. Levia smirks, saying, the sea is wherever she is. She blasts Kuroinu one more time, and down she goes. Levia then asks Kuroinu what Tama is after, promising she won't take her life if she tells the truth. Shironeko jumps in, demanding to know why Kuroinu did this to her. Kuroinu snaps at her, saying not to call her big sis, finding it disgusting. She scolds Shironeko for failing to complete such an easy task. Levia steps in to finish her off, but Kuroinu starts spilling Toma's plan. She reveals that Toma is trying to become a lord and destroy the world. Levia is outraged, like, how dare a lowly human try to be a lord? Suddenly, Kuroinu breaks a small orb, unleashing a blinding light as she vanishes. Later, Setsu exits and joins Levia, just as Mineko rushes out to hug her sister, both girls crying in each other's arms. Setsu and Levia discuss Toma's lord complex, with Setsu calling him a total whack job. They agree they need to stop Toma before he wrecks the world. They stand there for a moment as the sun begins to rise. Later that day, they're back on their journey, but this time they've got a boat. Levia yawns, looking beat because she didn't get much sleep. She tells Setsu she'd hoped they could catch some ZS last night, but it turned out to be a mess. While they're chatting about their plans to meet the Beast King, they suddenly spot Shironeko and Mineko waiting for them by the riverside. Shironeko jumps in, asking if they can join the fight, while Mineko chimes in about how they'll both be super useful. Shironeko insists that if they're heading to Regdom, the royal capital, they need a beastman on their side, and she wants to repay them for saving her sister. Plus, she's real eager to see Kuroinu again and talk things over. Setsu glances at Levia, and they both share a nod. He then asks the girls if they're sure they want to join since the fight's gonna be rough. When they both agree, he tells them to hop on, and off they sail. The story kicks off in the past with Setsu training a young beastman named Roa Leonaire, who's the daughter of the Beast King. Setsu is all, "Is that really all you got?" And Roa snaps back, saying she doesn't even want to be his student. They go back and forth, and Setsu dares her to attack him. Roa struggles a bit with the sword, since it's way too big for her. They charge at each other. Fast forward to the present in Regdom, the royal capital, where the officials are squabbling about the war. Some are all for attacking other kingdoms, while others think they should just hang back. King Regulus, totally chill, listens to the chaos, then feels something weird and gestures for Roa to check it out. Outside the castle, Setsu's trying to sweet-talk the guards into letting him in, but they're like, nah. Shironeko and Mineko step in to help, but it's just not happening. Frustrated, Setsu shouts that he might just jump over the wall for the last time. Suddenly, they spot Roa plummeting from the top of the gate. She lands with a massive explosion that sends guards flying, landing on them like it's no big deal. She starts gushing over him, and he's teasing her, calling her the Beast King's daughter, leaving Shironeko and her sister wide-eyed in shock. Roa gives Setsu a big hug but tries to sneak in a little attack. He flips her and pins her down as they keep bickering about him being her master. The other girls are still in disbelief about her being a princess, while Livia sighs like, "What is happening?" Roa hooks arms with Setsu as they stroll into the castle. She asks why he vanished, and he tells her it's a long story. He sweetly rubs her jaw, and Roa is totally loving it. Minako, feeling awkward, begs them to tone down the public affection. Suddenly, the castle doors swing open, and an excited Regulus charges out, lunging at Setsu with a punch. Setsu catches his wrist and flips him to the ground. Regulus bursts out laughing and gives him props. Shironeko, Mineko, and Levia are all just shocked. Turns out, the beastmen are super into dueling, and this is how they say hello. Setsu peeks inside the castle, and sees all the officials passed out, saying, "Regulus hasn't changed a bit." Regulus points out that, even though he looks different, he still smells the same. He declares they need to throw a feast to welcome him. But first, there's gotta be a duel. Setsu politely declines, saying he's got urgent stuff to discuss. He drops the bomb that Tama is alive and behind the war. Regulus is all in for joining the fight, but Setsu tells him to stay back, just in case Tama tries to stir up trouble in Zoo Dorado, the Beastmen continent. Roa jumps in, offering to go instead of her dad, and Regulus agrees she's the best option. Just then, a voice interrupts. A young man strides in saying they're at war and can't spare manpower for other nations. He introduces himself as Ruga, commander of the Zoo Dorado army and Roa's fiancé. Regulus agrees he has a point, but says Setsu is the hero. Ruga throws down some shade, reminding everyone that Setsu's been Maya for 5 years, so they can't be sure he's still on their side. Roa jumps in, saying she trusts Setsu, but Ruga's all not happening, and challenges Setsu to a duel. Regulus gets hyped and declares that the winner will be betrothed to Roa, leaving everyone stunned. Setsu tries to say that Roa's marriage shouldn't be on the line, but Ruga interrupts, telling him to meet him at the arena at noon tomorrow. He struts out, and the beastmen cheer him on. Later on, Regulus apologizes for this wild twist. He mentions that once he wins, he'll gain military support and Roa. Roa holds on to Setsu and urges him to win, and he's like, "Yeah, I got this," as they continue discussing things. That night, Roa swings by to see Ruga, trying to change his mind, saying Setsu's way too strong for him to handle. But Ruga, feeling cocky, insists he's not backing down. He shows her a rune tattooed on his arm, saying a mage gave it to him. This magic rune supposedly turns strong will into strength. He tells her he's ready to lay down his life to protect her, and when his eyes light up with determination, the rune glows, surprising Roa. Disappointed, she leaves him, and Ruga stares up at the moon, realizing that's why she never noticed him. The next morning, everyone's gathered at the arena in Regdom, royal capital, for the duel. The beastmen are hyped for Ruga, while Shironeko and Mineko are rooting for Setsu. Levia, meanwhile, is blowing her cash on snacks, totally uninterested in the fight itself. Setsu's taken aback by the huge crowd, and Roa explains that beastmen love a good festival. She cheers him on, while Ruga gives them a death glare from afar. Regulus announces that the fight ends when one fighter can't go on or surrenders. He signals for them to start, and the crowd erupts. The two clash, but Ruga's no match for Setsu. Setsu can't help but tease him, and Ruga transforms into a massive wolf-like beast, which makes the crowd go wild. Roa warns Setsu to watch out, but before she can finish, Setsu lands a major hit, sending Ruga crashing down, leaving everyone shocked. Roa cheers him on, while Setsu tells Regulus they should stop the fight, but Ruga's back up, determined to keep going. Setsu tells him it's a bad move, but Ruga insists. Shironeko and Mineko feel an eerie chill as they agree that something's off with Ruga. As whispers fill Ruga's head, he remembers Setsu training Roa and gets filled with rage. That rune turns out to be Tama's curse as he lunges at Setsu, blasting him. Regulus orders the audience to evacuate. Via tosses Setsu his sword, and he slashes Ruga's arm. But surprise, it grows back. Roa rushes towards Ruga, trying to calm him down, but Setsu stops her, saying the curse is too strong and could infect her too. Roa offers to finish him off herself, But Setsu doesn't want Ruga dead. He cooks up a plan, but warns it might leave him exposed. Ro agrees to cover him. He raises his hands, about to summon the shark sword glutton, when suddenly dark fog rolls in over the arena. Tama's voice pierces through as he blasts Ruga's head, killing him, and then appears as an illusion. He greets Setsu, saying he killed Ruga so Setsu wouldn't waste his magic. Roa jumps in angrily, demanding to know if Tama tricked Ruga. Setsu warns her not to approach, reminding her that even as an illusion, Tama's magic is super dangerous. But Tama flips out on her for interrupting and tries to attack. But Setsu points his sword, telling him to back off. Tama laughs, saying, Setsu is choosing someone other than him again. He maliciously declares he'll wipe out every species so both of them can chill together as lords. Setsu calls him an idiot, threatening to hunt him down if he harms anyone. Tama taunts Setsu about Destinia invading the demonic continent and mocks him, asking if he can save everyone at once. With that, Tama bids farewell as the illusion fades and Ruga's body just drops. Later, Regulus feels bad about letting the duel happen. Setsu tells him it's not the time to feel sorry. They need to hit the demonic continent and stop the war. Regulus says he'll prep a ship, and his army will join them soon. Setsu gives him a fist bump, saying he's counting on him. As he turns, the girls signal they're ready. Roa lingers in the arena, staring at where Ruga fell. Setsu checks in on her, and she assures him she's okay. She tells him they can get sentimental later, as she walks away, looking back one last time, telling Ruga to watch her. The scene kicks off 10 years ago, back when Setsu first got summoned to Eclair. We're thrown into the castle of Destinia, where two boys, Setsu and Tama, just pop into existence. They look super confused, while the officials are like, yes, the summoning spell actually worked. The king rolls in, welcoming the boys, claiming they're heroes from another world meant to help Destinia win the war. But Setsu is having none of it. He snaps at them, calling them idiots and insisting he never signed up for this. He tells them to stop offloading their problems onto him and Tama, leaving everyone in shock. The king asks for his name, and he introduces himself as Setsu, while Tama looks at him like he's some sort of idol. Fast forward to one day on the practice grounds, where Tama's all like, dude, how are you so chill after just getting dropped into this crazy world? Setsu casually explains that this world is packed with demons and monsters, so they've got to toughen up. Tama admits he's scared of going to war. Setsu, trying to lighten the mood, reaches out his hands, telling Tama they've gotta give it their all to survive since they're in the same boat. He reassures him that if they stick together, they'll figure things out. Tama, feeling a bit better, grabs his hands with a smile. As they head inside, Setsu drops the bomb that they need to stop the war. Killing or getting killed by strangers in a totally unfamiliar land is just wrong. Tama, totally taken aback, argues that it's impossible, and he's not as strong as Setsu. Setsu pumps him up, saying they can conquer anything together because they're allies from the same place. They're brothers, and he vows to protect Tama no matter what. They make a promise to each other that they'll meet again once they become true heroes. Fast forward to a few years later, Setsu decides to take off and try to stop the war himself. Tama's still too scared to join him and vows to get stronger to catch up soon. They both promise to reunite as legit heroes. That night, Setsu heads out with Glaine, Elka, and Thea, while Tama watches them leave, feeling a mix of envy and determination. A few years after that, Tama gets some serious recognition for his skills in battle, earning him the title of Silver Hero. He celebrates with his comrades after the ceremony, looking up and remembering Setsu, realizing he's one step closer to their promise. He's determined to get stronger and end the war, telling his soldiers and advisor he's going all in to achieve his dream. He asks them if they're down to fight for him, and they all shout yes, ready to charge back into battle. During the clash, they break into a demon temple, and when Tama shows up, the soldiers freak out, calling him the Silver Devil. He takes them out without breaking a sweat, then goes deeper into the temple. There, he finds two guys who surrender, begging for mercy, but he just beheads them. His advisor tells him the place is cleared, and they'll be heading out soon. But as Tama tries to leave, a mysterious voice calls to him, stopping him in his tracks. He turns to see a creepy pendant glowing, and the voice tempts him with promises of fulfilling his deepest wish. Tama's mind starts to get poisoned with dark magic, fixating on his one true desire to be with Setsu. The pull of the pendant gets too strong, and he grabs it. As the war rages on, Tama finds himself acting crazier as he repeats that he needs to keep fighting. Suddenly, a messenger rushes in with urgent news. A truce has been reached, and they have to retreat. He mentions that a group of leaders will be passing through, and they must escort them safely. Just then, a carriage breezes by, and Tama senses Setsu's magic. After it passes, he loses it as he spots Setsu hanging out with Regulus, Dazes, Levia, Glain, Elka, Thea, Elize, and Roa, all laughing together. Jealousy burns in him. The next day, the leaders officially sign the peace treaty and unveil a monument for the truce, leading to a massive cheer for Setsu. Tama watches, green with envy, as Setsu has a blast with his new buddies. That night, Destinia throws a huge celebration, lighting up the entire kingdom. Setsu takes in the view from the castle walls when Tama joins him, praising him for ending the war. Setsu, humble as ever, says he didn't do anything special, just traveled around. Tama feels like he could never do something that monumental, but Setsu assures him he's become a vital person now and congratulates him on his award. Just as Toma keeps chatting, Elka calls Setsu for a party in his honor. Setsu bids Toma farewell, glad to see him doing well. But Tama suddenly stops, stammering a bit before asking what Setsu thinks about going back to their world now that the war's wrapped up. He pulls out his sword, where the pendant is attached, claiming he figured out a way back. Setsu chuckles, saying he has no plans to leave. Now that the war's over, he wants to explore this new world. Tama's left stunned and frustrated, while the voice in the pendant keeps seeping into his mind. As Setsu wishes him luck with his journey back home, Tama loses it, crying out in despair as the pendant's cursed magic consumes him. He shouts at Setsu, declaring he'll destroy anyone who stands in their way. Once he wipes out all the humans, demons, and beastmen, Setsu will be his again. He demands Setsu pay attention to him and no one else, vowing to kill anyone who dares to take Setsu away. In an instant, Setsu summons his shark sword, Glutton, blocking Tama's attack. Toma goes wild, laughing maniacally as they clash. Glain, Thea, and Elka catch sight of the fight and rush up to help. Tama accuses them of seducing Setsu, and it's on both rush at each other, swords clashing. Tama lands a hit, slashing Setsu and causing him to bleed. In a swift move, Setsu plunges his sword into Tama's shoulder, leading to a massive explosion as the pair disappears. We see Tama emerge in the temple, where he first found the pendant. He pulls it from his sword, realizing none of his wishes came true, and tosses it aside, uttering he's just tired of everything. Suddenly, the pendant flares with a brilliant light, giving Toma a flash of vision. He sees an underground lab where masked figures are dragging a chained prisoner toward a table for some horrifying experiments, injecting them with a red liquid as the prisoner screams in agony. In another room, a man is shocked with electricity while the masked crew takes notes. They're experimenting on people with magic abilities. A young demon named Mellular pleads for mercy, and Kuroinu is also caught in the chaos. The vision fades, but Tama's spirit reignites, realizing there are others like him out there. That night, a massive explosion rocks the lab, causing it to collapse. As the dust settles, freed prisoners rise from the rubble, looking at Toma. He tells them they're now free and invites them to join him in destroying a world that rejected them, rallying them to his side. Back in the present, the Destinian army is sailing toward the demonic continent. One of the soldiers tells their general they'll be docking soon. The general rallies his troops, urging them to get ready to fight and defend their kingdom, and they cheer him on. The students from the other world watch in fear. Thea is using a magic compass, sensing Tama's power nearby. She says Tama is definitely somewhere on the demonic continent. Glain is worried they can't tell the general because he'd just think they're spies. He asks if anyone's heard from Setsu, and Yuhi reassures him, saying Setsu must be doing everything he can to stop the war, remembering how he looked before leaving. Elka says they need to stall for time until Setsu arrives. Thea encourages Yuhi to believe in herself and that they need to limit casualties. The four of them clasp their weapons together, vowing to bring back peace. The Destinian ships land, and the soldiers charge in as the demonic army tries to defend their ground. Glain leads the students from the other world to attack from behind. The two armies clash, throwing magic and ground forces at each other. The demonic army struggles to stop the Destinian army from invading their camp, but the mages break through the wooden barriers they built, pushing into their territory. Thea warns the students not to chase after injured soldiers, while Elka advises them to wait until the soldiers are distracted. Then she charges forward with Thea and Glain. The students stand around, terrified and confused, but one of them decides they just need to take out the enemy before they get taken out. So they charge in, leaving one girl behind. A demon soldier lunges at her, but Yuhi jumps in to save her. She thanks Yuhi, admitting she's scared, and Yuhi reassures her not to worry. The demon soldiers start to retreat. Just then, Yuhi spots one of the students trying to kill a wounded soldier and steps in to stop him. She reminds him the soldier can't move, but he insists it's war and it's kill or be killed. Yuhi refuses to accept that and continues to scold him. Suddenly, a voice cuts through, laughing and taunting, and magic runes appear in the sky. The huge monster soldiers that attacked them the first day they arrived in Eclair drop down. Then Alice appears, cursed and ready for battle, killing human soldiers. The demon troops are pumped, thinking they got reinforcements, but then the giant iron soldiers start attacking the demonic army. Glein freezes two of them and slices them in half. Elka and Glein notice the giant suits contain humans, and they're shocked to see that the demon going wild earlier was Alice. Mellular saunters up to them, humming and smirking. When they ask what she did to Alice, Mellular smugly claims she turned her into a doll. She taunts them, suggesting they become her puppets. Elka charges at her, but Alice blocks the attack. Elka calls to her, but she's gone dark. Mellular slashes her wrists and pours her blood onto the ground. The blood begins to form into 4 massive monsters, and the monsters charge at the trio, but Elka quickly takes down the snake monster with ice magic. Glein slashes down the gorilla monster in a heartbeat. A giant iron soldier goes after Glein, but Thea jumps in, using her magic stick to blast it, killing it, along with Mellular's dragon monster. Glein thanks her, saying, "That's 3 down." Elka declares she'll take Mellular out and tells them to finish the last monsters. Suddenly, they hear a thud and turn to see Yuhi has already taken out the last monster from Mellular's blood. They confront Mellular, asking her what's next now that her monsters are gone. She's furious, questioning how they're so strong without any enhancements. In a fit of rage, she commands Alice to kill them. Glein charges at Alice, apologizing as he slashes at her. Realizing she's cornered, Mellular draws a sword, but Elka knocks it from her hand and stabs her. Mellular collapses, coughing up blood, and Elka tells her that's the price she pays for messing with people's lives as she walks away. Mellular murmurs she can't die like this as she gets back up. Elka is shocked, questioning how she's still alive after her magic organ was pierced. Mellular, with a smug grin, reveals that all her organs are doubled. A freak created for war by an experiment. She says Tama saved her, and to bring down this world, she'll keep fighting for him. She casts limit break magic, summoning a gigantic 3-headed monster chimera, calling it her perfect marionette doll. Mellular steps into the monster's head, channeling her magic to control it. Thea warns them Mellular's using her life force to empower it. Chimera attacks, and the 4 of them struggle against it. It breathes fire their way, but Thea and Yuhi conjure a magic barrier, draining their energy, especially Thea's. Out of nowhere, a butterfly flutters past Alice. Mellular keeps taunting them, and as Chimera gears up for another fiery attack, Thea collapses, completely spent. As Elka and Glein despair, that same butterfly flies toward Mellular. She glances at it, but as she turns to unleash her attack, a sword pierces her from behind its Alice. Alice calls her Amel and hugs her, tears streaming down her cheeks as she remembers their time in Zathro together. The Chimera turns to stone as Mellular dies. They cast healing magic on Alice, and Glein says it's working, assuring them she'll be fine. Yuhi helps the op, who admits she wasn't ready for Mellular's strength and says they all need to catch their breath. Suddenly, there's a massive explosion as another one of Tama's minions arrives. Glein, Thea, and Elka worry he's too strong and that they're too worn out to fight, but Yuhi insists she'll take him on. They try to talk her out of it, but she tells them to believe in her. Glein agrees, saying Yuhi's in better shape than they are and urges them to let her handle it. Thea chimes in, backing her up. Elka encourages Yuhi not to give up. Just as she's about to confront the demon, they all sense a presence and stop, feeling Setsu's magic approaching, and they sigh in relief. Setsu descends dramatically from the sky, landing right in front of his friends. He praises Yuhi and reassures them they're safe now, and Yuhi looks at him, her eyes sparkling with happiness. Back at Regdom, an officer lets Regulus know they're all set to send forces to the demonic continent. He tells them to get that aid out as soon as possible. One of the chiefs jumps in and asks the king what's going to happen to Eclair now. The king responds that they need to trust Setsu, reassuring them that Setsu is already on his way there. Now on the demonic continent, when Setsu touches down, Elka and Yuhi are totally hyped. Suddenly, a dude starts pulling his cape, and Setsu instantly recognizes him as the guy he fought at Daisa's wedding. This guy says he's been looking forward to their rematch. Setsu quickly checks to make sure his friends are safe as Yui throws up a barrier to shield them. The dude mocks Setsu, asking why he cares about the weak. Setsu responds, "They're precious to me, so I protect them." The guy claims the world needs to be destroyed. Setsu shoots back that he'll protect it as they both charge at each other. Meanwhile, Kurowainu is still wreaking havoc on the soldiers, but Shironeko and Minako jump in to take her on. Shironeko tries to get through to Kurowainu with words, but Kurowainu just laughs it off. She taunts them about their sister bond, calling them useless little cats with no power. They fight her, but honestly, they're no match for Kurowainu. She deals them both a couple of nasty cuts, but Shironeko manages to kick her off balance and Minako jumps on her, bringing some serious knee action down on Kurowainu. They think they've got her down for the count, but she starts transforming, capturing Minako with tentacles and swinging at Shironeko. Then Kurowainu pulls off some limit break magic, sprouting massive arms. She charges at the sisters, taunting and laughing, but Shironeko isn't out yet. She takes her sister's hand, and together, they pull off a beast merge, combining into one epic creature. Kurowainu keeps mocking them, but now she's totally at a disadvantage. She lunges with her big arms, but they hit back with wind beast magic that slices through her beast arms. Kurowainu falls, but refuses to quit. Remembering her dead sisters, she launches into one last desperate attack, but the sisters finish her off quickly, her lifeless body hitting the ground as they separate. At another battlefield, soldiers are trying to take down one of Tama's minions, this iron dude named Verdos, but their swords can't do anything against him. Roa, the Beast King's daughter, swoops in and kicks Verdos hard enough to knock him back. The soldiers recognize her and are super grateful, so they bow out. Verdos decides to taunt Roa. She's shocked to find out he's literally made of iron and calls him a freak. Verdos says he was created by humans and experimented on since he was a kid, claiming Tama rescued him. Roa snaps back that Tama is just trying to destroy the world out of his delusion. Verdos couldn't care less. He starts talking about Ruga, which completely sets Roa off. She attacks him, but ends up hurting her knee. Roa goes for another swing, but he breaks down into tiny iron particles and boasts about his ability to control his body. Then he shoots those particles at Roa in ball form, hitting her hard. Verdos forms back into his iron body and thinks she's done for. As he turns to leave, Roa gets back up, and with a burst of power that leaves him speechless, she charges him, flames engulfing her. He tries the iron balls again, but she barrels right through them. This insane power is something only the Beast King's bloodline can access, only moments before their death. Roa plunges him into the ground and then unleashes a flurry of brutal punches. He laughs and throws spikes from his body, hitting her all over, but she doesn't back down, leaving him in total disbelief as she breaks through every spike and lands a finishing blow. The power fades as she collapses, gravely wounded. Verdos walks up, barely hanging on, and somehow manages to use his last strength to heal her, which catches Ra off guard. He drops to the ground as he admires her spirit, saying she should keep living. Roa wonders what a guy like him is doing with Tama and promises to carry his pride with her. Meanwhile, back at Setsu's showdown, the guy realizes he's way stronger than Setsu, easily dodging his attacks. He uses magic to try freezing Setsu, and when it seems to work, he rushes in for a hit, but Setsu breaks free, shocking him. Setsu warns him not to underestimate him again and tells him to give up and call Toma. This dude just laughs wickedly and activates his limit break magic, summoning Skia Armor and Invincible Armor. He declares he's ready to sacrifice everything just to take Setsu down and charges. Setsu swipes at him with his sword, but it does squat against the Skia Armor. The guy gloats about how the shadow armor absorbs all energy. Setsu's stunned as the guy punches him square in the face, clearly loving it. But then Setsu declares he'll just cut through that armor. He charges up with red fury energy and summons his flying sword. Zetsu, one swing, and the armor shatters. Setsu warns him to give up or he might end up dead, but the guy retorts that death doesn't scare him. He says he has no reason to live if he loses. He believes Setsu lives in the light, so he'll never understand. Charging at Setsu again, Setsu swiftly slices him down. As he's falling, the guy thanks Setsu for the fight that let him go all out. Dropping to the ground, Tama sees all his minions have fallen and thinks Setsu's in his way yet again. He declares this is the final showdown, time to destroy the world. Setsu looks up and sees Tama's power rising from a mountain as Tama finally reveals himself. Back at the Demon Lord's castle, Levia bursts in, on the hunt for Dazes. Dazes reassures her that she's okay. Levia mentions that some seriously strong magic forces have dipped out of the battlefield. Dazes is stoked to hear the tide is turning in their favor. Levia remarks that it's awesome Setsu showed up just in time. But before they can celebrate, Toma crashes the party. He pulls out his sword, declaring the end is nigh, and says he'll show them what real despair feels like. He quickly takes them down, leaving them battered. Suddenly, Setsu rushes into the castle, frantic to find his friends. He sees them tied up, looking rough, with Tama looming ominously over them. Tama tells him he knew Setsu would show up but can't help feeling a bit jealous about it. Setsu, clearly fed up, charges in without a word. He's done with the chit-chat. Tama counters that they can talk after he wrecks the world, and just like that, they're clashing with a bang. Tama uses some magic to turn his sword into a bomb and flings it at Setsu, but Setsu smacks it back, blowing a chunk out of the castle and cracking open the sky. Dazes quickly puts up a magic barrier to shield herself and Levia. They both marvel at how powerful these two are. Setsu challenges Toma to a real fight now that he's done warming up. Tama retaliates with a barrage of explosive magic, and Setsu does his best to dodge. Using his flying sword magic, Setsu fires back, but he leaves himself wide open, and Tama seizes the chance to sneak an attack from behind, causing an explosion that sends blood trickling down his arm. Tama smirks, saying Setsu's lost his edge. He charges in, but Setsu knocks Tama's sword away, surprising him. Setsu goes for a punch, landing a massive blow to Tama's face. Setsu continues to rain punches down on him until Tama counters with a magic explosion. Tama looks a bit worse for wear, and Setsu can't help but smirk at his expression. Tama suddenly remembers that he can be tricky too, and summons his cursed sword. He uses some form change magic to transform it into a giant gun, leaving Setsu in shock. Tama points the gun at Setsu and fires, causing an explosion that wrecks a nearby mountain. Setsu starts brainstorming how to disarm Tama. He launches himself at Tama with a kick, but Tama turns the gun just in time, catching Setsu off guard as he kicks him into the sky. They're now battling high above, with Tama firing relentlessly, but Setsu dodges like a pro. Tama turns his gun into a machine gun, blasting multiple shots, but Setsu leaps, using a magic barrier to shield himself. He then summons his shark sword, Glutton, and devours the bullets, leaving Tama staring wide-eyed in disbelief. With both his physical swords, Setsu gathers his strength and releases two flying swords. Tama is left dumbfounded as they zoom toward him and explode right in his face. Fuming, Tama declares that Setsu's sword is a serious problem. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew joins Dazes and Levia in the castle, looking up in awe. Setsu spots them and feels relieved they're safe. Then he turns back to Tama, telling him to surrender since his friends are gone. Tama, seething with anger, recalls all the times he saw Setsu happy with others and how he's always been left alone. He glows red with rage, unleashing a dark and mighty magic. Setsu thinks it's coming from another source, but realizes it's the pendant attached to Tama's sword. Tama starts laughing maniacally as his power skyrockets, confusing everyone in the castle. As the light settles, Setsu notices Tama has summoned two gigantic guns, a sign that he just triggered Limit Break. Blood pours from Tama's eyes, confirming he's gone all in with Limit Break. He tells Setsu it's time to finish this fight. Their battle intensifies in the sky. Tama taunts him, firing wildly with his massive guns. Setsu is desperate to close the gap, but with bullets flying everywhere, it's tough. Elka wonders how they'll fight in such chaos, and Glaine pipes in that Tama's gun might not even run out of ammo. In a shocking move, Tama turns the gun towards the castle and fires. Setsu opens Glutton to absorb the bullets, but he misses a few, which slam into the castle. Once the dust clears, he realizes they've protected themselves with a barrier. Tama sees this and explodes with rage. Setsu says it's his turn now and sends in a flying sword, but Tama blocks it with his gun. Setsu sneaks up and unleashes a flurry of flying swords, breaking Tama's massive gun and leaving him vulnerable. Setsu goes in for the finishing strike and slashes Tama, landing a fatal wound. As Tama falls from the sky, Memories flood back of his life before the war and the promises he made with Setsu. But then he recalls how Setsu abandoned him for his new friends and screams that the pendant's power is filling him up. He springs back to life, this time wielding a massive rocket-like gun that leaves Setsu in utter shock. Setsu quickly raises a magic barrier as Tama fires away, but the sheer power shatters Setsu's defense, and he's knocked down. As Setsu struggles to rise, Toma descends, laughing, thinking he's finally beat Setsu. But to his horror, Setsu rises from the debris, declaring no amount of power will ever make Toma stronger than him. Using dimensional magic, Setsu traps Tama in a glowing circle. He thrusts the shark sword into the ground, summoning the Earth Eater. The earth begins to encase Tama. Frantic, Tama tries to use Limit Break again, but it's a one-time deal. Realizing he's out of options, panic sets in, as he begs Setsu not to let him die. As the prison tightens, he desperately pleads for forgiveness, but Setsu watches impassively as the enclosure closes. In his final moments, Tama comprehends that all he ever wanted was to be by Setsu's side as he vanishes. Afterward, we see Setsu sitting across from Tama's body, waiting for him to wake up. Tama wakes up, shocked that he isn't dead. Setsu tells him he never wanted him dead, he just needed him to come to terms with reality. He reveals that the sword only absorbed the curse placed on him. Plus, he reassures him he promised to protect him. Tama breaks down, feeling unworthy after all the things he's done. Setsu responds that he saved him, so he could atone, no matter how long it takes. Then, their friends come rushing in, shouting Toma's name and wrapping him in hugs. Once things cool down, Setsu heads to see Toma in his cell and informs him they've decided on a punishment for him. Tama looks surprised, as it turns out the sentence is for him to use his magic to cast a transfer spell to send the foreign heroes back to Earth. Tama didn't see that coming. Dezes tells Toma that without his magic powers, he'll just be an ordinary dude, so there's no reason to worry about him causing any trouble. Regulus chimes in with a joke, saying Toma's face totally doesn't scream, "I'm up to no good." Setsu encourages Toma to join the other students and head back to Earth for a fresh start. Dezes tells Toma to thank Setsu for having his back. Toma starts tearing up, realizing that Setsu always keeps his promises. The next day, everyone's pumped as they gather around for the transfer magic. Toma casts the spell, and the students explode with joy finally going home. Setsu waves them goodbye as they disappear. But wait, Toma decides to stick around. He talks it over with Setsu, saying he wants to explore the world and figure out how to make up for his mistakes. Setsu tells him he's got his back. They say their goodbyes, and Toma sets off. Later, Setsu also leaves Destinia. He says farewell to his friends, and Elka, in tears, begs to come along. Yuhi, instead of heading back to Earth, joins Setsu on his trip to see the world. They hit up the seaside to catch up with Levia. Setsu asks if the sea is safe, and she assures him it's all good as long as she's around. Just then, out of nowhere, a giant octopus pops up in the water. Setsu and Yuhi are all smiles as they watch Levia take on the monster. Next, they swing by to check on Alizi, who's healing up from her injuries. They visit Dezes, giving props for how well things are going post-war in her country. Dezes fills them in that Ri is doing a bang-up job in her shop, and they see Ruri working hard, selling squid rings. Then, they head over to see Regulus, and of course, Setsu tries to charm his way in, claiming he knows Regulus. That's when Roa, Shiraneko, and Mineko leap out from the gate and land on him. The two sisters are now living with Roa, who proudly shows off her new commander outfit, explaining she's leading the army now. Shiraneko's the deputy commander, and Mineko is the second deputy. Roa tells Setsu they're training hard, aiming to beat him someday. Setsu is stoked to see the Beastmen nation thriving. As Setsu and Yuhi continue their adventure, Setsu talks about how there are so many awesome things to see in this world.